It would be an understatement to say Ozzie Newsome has had a big part in the success of the Baltimore Ravens. All the Pro Bowlers, the Hall of Famers, division titles, and of course, the 2 Super Bowl championships. As large of a role as Ozzie has played in the history of the Baltimore Ravens, his journey to becoming one of the top general managers in recent history didn't start in Baltimore, or even in Cleveland, where he was a Hall of Fame tight end for the Browns for 13 seasons. No, it started in Alabama as a young football player with a legendary coach.
Football is, in many ways, the state of Alabama. When you ask somebody to talk about the great players in the history of the University of Alabama, immediately folks say Joe Namath, Kenny Stabler. But on that list, there's always Ozzie Newsome. And Ozzie might be 1, 2, 3, depending on how you like to categorize things. If the ball was in his zip code or in his area code, he'd make the play. Nobody ever outworked him. There might be some who say, well, I worked as hard, but nobody ever outworked the man.
He was an amazing football player. He was obviously a tremendous athlete, a great receiver, had amazing hands. During his tenure there, he was All-SEC a couple of times, consensus All-American. Just a great player. He still holds a lot of the records from the tight end position at the University of Alabama as far as receptions.
He is as much a part of the University of Alabama as is a Nick Saban, as is a Bear Bryant, as are any of the players who've played, and he wears that crimson and white logo as proudly as he wears the purple, gold, and white of the Ravens.
When you come from a program that is so tradition heavy, like the University of Alabama, with all the All-Americans that have been there before. And I think it's touching for those guys. I came from a tradition-rich location that invested in me enough to let me be successful on the football field.
Success at Alabama is defined by winning, specifically winning national championships. For nearly 3 decades, Alabama dominated college football. 6 national championships, 13 SEC titles, led by a man who impacted his players both on and off the football field. A man who can be identified by a single item, a houndstooth fedora.
Not a week that goes by that I don't speak to someone maybe that played for Coach Bryant, but still carries life lessons with them. And he was really, he was a coach, he was a father figure, he was hard on them, he loved them. He did so much for them as individuals in a personal level that they just impacted their lives.
He always talked about, can you every day go out to work to get 10% better? And that's not a lofty goal to try to get 10% better, but it keeps you from getting complacent. And he taught us to treat people like you want to be treated. It was things like that, little things, that helped mold me as a person, but not only me, all the other players that were playing there, because when I'm around former players who played under him, we all, sing from the same songbook.
When you have somebody like Coach Bryant who has such a strong structure and culture that he creates in an organization, it impacts you personally and everything that you do. Understanding football to the level and being interested in football to the level that he has been and the success that he's had probably all goes back to some of those lessons that he learned as a player here under Coach Bryant.